This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have the chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. Pause. At the end, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1. In this part, you will hear a telephonic conversation, and based on that you will get 10 questions. First, you have some time to read questions 1 to 6. Now listen and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good morning, TechPoint Electronics. This is Sandeep speaking. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sandeep. My name's Mark Walters. I'm thinking about setting up a projector at home for movie nights with my family, and I'd like some advice before I make a purchase.
Absolutely, Mark. Home projectors are very popular these days, and we have a good selection for different needs and budgets. Can I ask what size room you're planning to use for the projector?
It's our living room, which is about 4 meters wide and 5 meters long. We want to project onto a blank wall at one end.
That's a good space. For a room that size, you'll get a nice big picture, probably around 90 inches diagonal. Do you have a particular budget in mind?
I'd like to stay under £400 if possible.
We have a few models in that range. I'd recommend the LumiView Mini HD. It's very reliable for home use, comes with built-in speakers, and has both HDMI and USB ports for connecting devices.
That sounds promising. What about brightness? I've heard some projectors aren't great if there's a bit of daylight.
You're right. Brightness is important. The LumiView Mini has a rating of 3800 lumens, which is bright enough for evening use, and even works in the daytime if you pull the curtains. It's also lightweight, so you can move it easily if needed.
Does it come with a warranty?
Yes, there's a 2-year warranty on all LumiView projectors. If there are any faults, you just bring it back with your receipt, and we'll handle repairs or replacement.
That gives peace of mind. What else would I need to get started?
Apart from the projector itself, you'll need a suitable HDMI cable to connect it to your laptop or streaming device. We sell those for $7 each. If you want an even better image, you could consider a dedicated screen, but projecting onto a plain white wall works well for most people.
That sounds promising. What about brightness? I've heard some projectors aren't great if there's a bit of daylight.
You're right. Brightness is important. The LumiView Mini has a rating of 3800 lumens, which is bright enough for evening use and even works in the daytime if you pull the curtains. It's also lightweight, so you can move it easily if needed.
Does it come with a warranty?
Yes, there's a 2-year warranty on all LumiView projectors. If there are any faults, you just bring it back with your receipt, and we'll handle repairs or replacement.
Mark, that gives peace of mind. What else would I need to get started?
Apart from the projector itself, you'll need a suitable HDMI cable to connect it to your laptop or streaming device. We sell those for $7 each. If you want an even better image, you could consider a dedicated screen, but projecting onto a plain white wall works well for most people.
We have a smooth wall, so I'll try that first. How about sound? Are the built-in speakers good enough for a group?
They're decent for a small room, but for a real cinema experience, most customers connect the projector to a Bluetooth speaker or soundbar. If you don't have one, we have some starting at £25.
Thanks. I'll see how our current speaker works. What about setting up the projector? Is it difficult for beginners?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Not at all. We provide a setup guide with each projector, and there are video tutorials on our website. You basically plug it in, connect your device, and use the focus and keystone controls to get the image just right.
If I get stuck, can someone help me?
Of course. Our staff can help over the phone or for a small fee of $35. We offer a home setup service within the city. One of our technicians will come and set everything up for you and give you a quick demo.
That's good to know. Do you deliver?
Yes, we offer free home delivery on all purchases over $100. Delivery usually takes 2 to 3 days.
How can I pay?
We accept credit and debit cards, as well as PayPal for online orders. If you prefer, you can visit the store to pay in cash or card.
If I buy it this week, can I return it if it doesn't suit our needs?
Yes, we have a 14-day return policy for a full refund, as long as everything is in its original packaging and you keep the receipt.
Perfect. Is there anything else I should know?
Only that our current sale runs until next Monday. The LumiView Mini HD is $350 IELTS this week. Usually it's $399. I'd recommend reserving it soon if you're interested.
That's a great deal. I think I'll go ahead and order one. Could you please reserve it under my name?
Certainly, Mark. I'll hold a LumiView Mini for you and you'll get a confirmation text. Would you like it delivered or will you collect from the shop?
Delivery would be great. My address is 27 Redfern Road.
Got it. Expect your projector by the end of the week. If you need to contact us, our direct line is 0207 995241.
Thank you for all your help, Sandeep.
You're very welcome. Enjoy your movie nights.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2. In this part, you will hear a monologue. A person is giving an orientation to a group of people. First, you have some time to read questions 11 to 15. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us here at Shadowline Studios. Whether you're here because you're an aspiring filmmaker, a behind-the-scenes enthusiast, or just looking for work experience in media, we're really pleased to have you. My name's Julia Tran, and I've worked in film production for over 10 years now, first in location scouting, then as a line producer, and now as the head of our talent development program here at Shadowline. Today, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what it's like to work with us, the kinds of roles we offer, and how you can get involved, especially if you're just starting out. Let me begin by telling you a bit about Shadowline itself. We're a mid-sized independent film production company based right here in Eastborough. We've been operating for just over 12 years, and although we started with short films and community documentaries, we've since grown into more ambitious work. TV miniseries, indie dramas, and even some commercial content for major brands. What makes us different? We're a collaborative outfit. That means we operate in small teams where everyone's voice counts, from the director right down to the newest intern. Our goal isn't just to make great content, but to build strong creative communities. Now, about the work we do. We produce around 4 to 6 projects a year, which may not sound like a lot, but each one can last months depending on the complexity. Roles range from script supervision and editing to sound design, lighting, and wardrobe coordination. What might surprise you is how many roles don't require a degree in film or media. We've had carpenters move into set design, musicians become sound mixers, and photographers become DPs, or directors of photography. What matters more is your attitude, willingness to learn, and ability to work under pressure. Let's talk logistics. Shadowline works out of 3 main locations. First, we've got our main production office, which is just a 5-minute walk from Eastborough Station. That's where most of the pre-production and post-production happens. Then there's our studio warehouse on Harrington Road, which has large sound stages and a green screen room. Finally, we have a mobile unit, a van fitted with editing suites and equipment for shoots in remote areas. Each new project starts with a briefing week, where everyone on the team, from writers to runners, gets together to plan the shoot schedule, locations, and contingencies. If you're joining us for the first time, you'll be paired with a mentor during that week. We also provide a handbook with safety policies and etiquette guidelines. For example, phones should be off during shooting unless you're using them for production tasks. Let me take a moment to mention our community outreach scheme. Every year, we run a Film in a Fortnight boot camp with students from local colleges. We provide the gear and a mentor for each group, and over 2 weeks, they conceptualize, shoot, and edit a short film. The results have been phenomenal, with several entries going on to win youth awards. One thing that gets raised a lot during these sessions is pay. We are proud to say we offer industry standard rates, even for junior roles. Interns receive stipends, and we cover all travel and meal expenses for shoots. For those working long-term contracts, we offer holiday leave, equipment loans, and access to masterclasses with guest directors and screenwriters.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 16 to 20. Now, listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Right. Now let's hear from a few of our current staff members who will share what they think about working at Shadowline. First, we've got Alex, one of our senior editors. He joined us after doing a music production course, but quickly transitioned into film editing. According to him, editing here taught me how to structure storytelling, skills I now use in podcasting too. He really believes the work he does now has opened new doors. Next is Mona, a lighting assistant. She mentioned, lighting days can be long and demanding, but when you see the final scene, it's all worth it. She finds the pressure intense, but rewarding. Then there's Jay, who started out as a production assistant and now handles set logistics. He told us, even as a runner, I felt like I could talk to anyone on set. No egos. Jay really values the approachable culture we've built. Neera, our costume designer, had this to say. Sometimes you're improvising with duct tape and old fabric. It brings out creativity you didn't know you had. She appreciates the freedom and imagination the role demands. Lastly, Hamza, one of our location scouts, shared, I thought I'd just be finding places, but I've discovered a love for environmental storytelling. So for him, this job actually led to discovering a new interest.
That is the end of part 2. You have half a minute to check your answers. Part 3. Part 3 is an academic discussion between a student and a professor, or between two students. You need to listen to their conversation and answer questions based on that. First, you now have some time to read questions 21 to 25. Now, listen and answer questions 21 to 25.
Good afternoon, Fatima. I had a read through your dissertation outline on AI in healthcare. It looks promising. What stage are you at now?
Hi, Dr. Grant. I'm in the data collection stage. I've already completed a literature review and outlined the methodology. I'm focusing on how artificial intelligence is being integrated into diagnostic processes in hospitals.
That's a fascinating and rapidly evolving area. Have you narrowed the scope enough?
Yes, I decided to concentrate on image-based diagnostics, specifically AI use in reading X-rays, MRIs, and CT scans. I'll be comparing AI performance to traditional radiologist based diagnosis.
That's a smart move. There's a lot of published material on that, and your comparisons can be well supported. What sort of sources are you using?
I have reviewed over 30 peer reviewed articles, mostly from the past 5 years. I am also referencing 3 pilot projects in hospitals from the UK, Canada, and Japan that implemented AI tools in diagnostic imaging.
Impressive. Are you looking into the accuracy rates?
Definitely. One of my primary goals is to analyze whether AI is outperforming human experts. For instance, some studies show that AI can detect early stage lung cancer with over 90% accuracy, comparable to or better than radiologists.
Are you considering any ethical dimensions?
Yes, I've dedicated an entire section to that. It covers patient data privacy, algorithmic bias, and issues of accountability. For example, if an AI misdiagnoses a scan, who is ultimately responsible? The hospital, the software developer, or the supervising doctor?
Those are crucial concerns. Are you planning to interview any healthcare professionals?
I am. I've scheduled interviews with 3 radiologists and 1 hospital IT director. I want to understand how frontline staff feel about the changes AI is bringing and whether they trust these systems.
Good approach. Sometimes there's a disconnect between theoretical capability and practical implementation. What's your hypothesis?
I hypothesize that while AI has the potential to match or exceed human accuracy in certain diagnostic areas, its effectiveness is still heavily dependent on human oversight and proper integration into clinical workflows.
Very balanced. What challenges are you facing?
My biggest issue has been access to raw diagnostic data due to confidentiality concerns. So, I am using anonymized data sets available in academic repositories.
That's completely acceptable as long as you acknowledge it in your limitations section. How are you analyzing the data?
I'm using Python for some of the image analysis, though I'm not building any AI models myself. I'm mostly comparing data sets where AI and human performance have already been evaluated.
That's fine. This isn't a technical thesis, so you're not expected to build a new algorithm. It's more about critical evaluation.
Exactly. I want to maintain a social science lens, not a computer science one.
And your word count?
I'm at 4,100 words right now. I'll need to trim a bit from the introduction but expand the discussion section slightly.
Sounds manageable. Your outline is well structured. Just make sure you avoid excessive jargon in the final draft.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to read questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Now, let's talk about your upcoming presentation. When is it scheduled?
I'm presenting next Thursday at 2 p.m. We're still sticking to the 12-minute limit, right?
Yes. 12 minutes for the presentation and then 3 for questions. What's your plan for the opening?
I'm going to begin with a real case. A hospital in Japan where AI detected a malignant tumor that 2 doctors missed. That should catch attention.
Excellent choice. Starting with a real world story is always powerful. And your visuals?
I've made 9 slides in total. They include 2 graphs comparing error rates between AI and radiologists and one animated visual showing how AI maps lung scans.
Animation is effective but risky. Test it thoroughly beforehand.
I've already tested it. Runs perfectly on the university system. It's only 35 seconds long, so it won't affect my timing.
Good. And have you uploaded your slides?
Not yet. The deadline is Wednesday by 600 p.m. So I plan to submit them Tuesday afternoon.
Great idea to be early. Are you rehearsing?
Yes, I'm doing a mock run this weekend with a friend from the data science department. He'll check if I'm explaining the technical parts clearly.
Very thoughtful. Looking forward to your presentation, Fatima.
Thanks, Dr. Grant. I appreciate all the guidance.
That is the end of part 3. Now you have 30 seconds to check your answers. Part 4. This part is a monologue where a person gives a seminar on a topic. You need to listen and answer all the questions at once. First, you have some time to read questions 31 to 40. Now, listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. In today's lecture, we'll be diving into the evolution of museums, from their earliest origins to the modern institutions we know today. While we often think of museums as places to observe paintings or ancient objects, their history is far more complex, and their purposes have changed significantly over time. Let's begin by going way back, thousands of years ago, in fact. The earliest forms of collections weren't called museums, but rather they were private treasuries. These were often held by rulers, temples, or religious institutions. For example, in Mesopotamia, items of historical or religious importance were stored in temples, primarily for ritualistic or symbolic purposes rather than public viewing. One of the earliest known curated spaces was in ancient Egypt, where items belonging to previous pharaohs were kept and occasionally displayed. But the real conceptual leap came in classical Greece. The word museum actually derives from the Greek word mousion, meaning a place dedicated to the muses, the goddesses of art and science. These were more like philosophical schools or research centers, not repositories of objects. Now let's fast forward to the Roman Empire. Romans were known for their appreciation of art and often displayed sculptures and artifacts in private villas. However, these were mainly for personal enjoyment and prestige. It wasn't until much later, around the Renaissance, that we begin to see the foundation for what we now recognize as public museums. The Renaissance period was a turning point. Wealthy individuals and aristocrats, particularly in Italy, began assembling cabinets of curiosities, or Wunderkammern. These were eclectic collections of rare items, natural specimens, antiquities, religious relics, and oddities. They weren't organized by category or theme, but were more like displays of wealth, intellect, and exploration. A famous example was the collection of Ole Worm, a Danish physician and natural historian in the 17th century. His cabinet contained everything from stuffed animals to ancient tools. What distinguished these cabinets was that they attempted to classify objects based on observation and emerging scientific methods. Now, the transition to public museums began in earnest in the 18th century, particularly with the British Museum, established in 1753. It was among the first institutions to grant the public access to significant collections. Entry was initially restricted to educated or elite individuals, but it paved the way for greater democratization of access to knowledge and culture. As we moved into the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution and colonial expansion meant that European powers were collecting artifacts from all over the world. This era saw the growth of massive national museums, housing everything from Egyptian mummies to Chinese ceramics. However, this also led to ethical concerns about ownership and cultural appropriation, many of which continue today. In terms of design and experience, earlier museums were often arranged according to chronological or scientific principles. Items were labeled and categorized with minimal interpretation. Visitors were expected to be passive observers, absorbing information in a somewhat rigid academic setting. But modern museums have dramatically shifted their approach. Today, they aim to be interactive, inclusive, and community-oriented. Many incorporate technology such as touchscreens, virtual tours, and augmented reality to enhance engagement. Curators now focus on narrative and storytelling, often highlighting underrepresented voices or controversial topics. Museums have also taken on a variety of forms. We have art museums, of course, but also science centres, open-air museums, maritime museums, and even digital-only institutions. The idea that a museum must be a physical space is increasingly being challenged. For instance, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the move to virtual exhibitions, which allowed global audiences to access collections from their homes. One more trend worth discussing is the rise of participatory curation. In the past, curators were the sole authority deciding what should be displayed. But now, many institutions are involving local communities in the curation process. This ensures that exhibitions reflect diverse perspectives, making museums more responsive and culturally relevant. Today, museums are not just spaces for preservation, but also for education, dialogue, and activism. They often act as platforms to engage with topics like climate change, social justice, and Indigenous rights. This broader role makes them dynamic institutions that are continuously evolving.
That is the end of part 4. You have now 30 seconds to check your answers. You have now 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.